Welcome back to Coast Vue. I really enjoyed that conversation. And by the way, I enjoyed the conversation with Fred Hayes, the Apollo 13 astronaut from Biloxi that we had yesterday. Terrific conversation. We actually went into a little bit more detail about his journalism career, his association with the Daily Herald, the predecessor to the Sun Herald, and the fact that he got to work with Jack Nelson along the way, the Pulitzer Prize winning reporter from the Sun Herald that went on to win a Pulitzer Prize for the Los Angeles Times and was at the Washington Bureau for like 21 years. And his nickname when he was here was Scoop. And Fred told the story that when he worked with Jack, that they called Fred Hayes Scoop Jr. I thought that's kind of an interesting kind of sub-story to the overall story. It's always interesting to get into some new ground with someone who's famous like Fred Hayes. Okay, now let's shift gears and move over to my dear friend, Louis Skrmetta. He's the Chief Operating Officer for a family business that most people know really well, the Island Excursions. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Busy right now, though.
That's great to hear, man. We've talked along the way. We told your entire family history along the way and about some challenges during the pandemic, et cetera. But if you were just telling someone today how things are, what's the bottom line for how business is?
Oh, we're having a great summer. Ridership is up pre-COVID levels. Weather's been outstanding. It's perfect right now. A little rain in the afternoon here or there, but people are loving it. We're getting a lot of visitors from New Orleans and Baton Rouge that normally go to Florida. We're noticing a lot of Louisiana folks coming our way instead of driving all the way to Destin and Pensacola. So that kind of helps out, too, with the situation, the gas situation.
Last year, it's interesting. Last year, I would say that the things that impacted us in the fishing community probably impacted you too. But if so much rain, of course, COVID was still sort of out there. A lot of rain, more rain than we've experienced here in a long time. For fishermen, the backwaters were fresh most of the time. But, it was probably a combination of weather and COVID and people still trying to figure out whether they're gonna leave or not and go on their vacations. But how do you characterize last year?
Well, you have to factor in the spillway too. The year before that really hurt us.
Yeah.
Rick, right now the water is outstanding. Like you're right, You're absolutely right. It's so pretty around the barrier islands right now. The salinity is up, but it has an impact on our business. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So you're talking about one of the things that people may not understand is that when there's a lot of rain, there are a lot of watersheds that drain into the Mississippi Sound, which is one of the reasons Mississippi Sound makes it so resilient, and so it's why seafood love it. Now, when you open up things like the Bonnet-Carré Spillway over to protect New Orleans, and you dump a lot of fresh and polluted water into Mississippi Sound. Mississippi Sound is not made for that, and that really changes the course of history. But it hasn't opened up in a couple of years. We've had less rain certainly this year, and what that means is that the salinity in the Back Bay area, the salinity along the Barrier Islands continues to go up. The water gets clearer. People enjoy it more. Fishing gets good. Just enjoying the sun, enjoying the island. Man, it doesn't get any better than it is right now, does it?
No, it doesn't. The passengers arrive at the island, they walk down the pier, and they see schools of mullets swim by, and they're oohing and ahhing over the bat rays and the skimmers and all the birds alongside of the pier fishing on the minnows. The red-winged blackbirds greet the boat as we pull into the dock. It's a really cool experience for our visitors, especially for folks that come down here for the first time. They say, wow, we didn't realize these islands were out here.
Yeah. And of course, you've had your challenges along the way with, we've had, obviously Katrina, but I'm saying in recent history, the Ship Island Pier has had its share of challenges. Finally, you got it where you want it today, but boy, that's been a tough 5 or 6 years, hasn't it?
Rick, you know how difficult of a landing the Ship Island dock is. You saw me one time in a storm out there, I believe, and it's a challenge every time you dock out there, especially now since they pumped in all the sand around Fort Massachusetts, and a lot of that sand is drifting down into our berth, so we have to be real careful when we land out there because of the shallowness of the water. But yeah, it's always a challenge at that pier. And I tell people all the time, when the weather gets bad, when you see the black clouds over Biloxi and Gulfport, move away, get away from that dock, because it's going to get rough with a north wind.
Yeah, you have a good memory about that. I remember that well. Actually, you made a little cut the front of your boat with the piling,
Mm-hmm.
and
perfect little ding,
perfect little thing. It was so fun. I have great. We talked a little bit about this the last time we were together, but I have such great memories of you. Early in my career, we didn't have a big enough boat to get beyond Ship Island, so we would go every single Saturday and fish Ship Island. We learned every nook and cranny of that place. We on land and in water, we knew that island backwards and forwards, and we were always in our day by going to the pier and just hanging out, have a cold beer, and just kind of hang out. And you would show up, and we would always visit. And we did that year after year after year after year. This is long before I even finished school and went on to become publisher of the Sun Herald. But we go back that far, don't we, buddy?
We do. And you were always a big help during those days. I remember we were fighting they wanted to put the drilling rigs next to Ship Island and Horn Island, the gas rigs, that crazy scheme Haley Barber came up with. And you helped out a lot in that, letting the public know what was happening. And of course, they rose up against it. They opposed it. They love their national seashore, their barrier islands. I mean, we have enough drilling 12 miles south of the island. Let them stay out there, but protect our islands.
Well, when the 12 Mile South Coalition came about, it seemed to me to be a natural. And, it's interesting, too, that, the nature of drilling has changed pretty dramatically, actually, over the last few years. And a lot of, used to, and we talk about this on my show, SuperTalk Outdoors, pretty regularly, is that, you get pretty, I would say 12, 15 miles past, Ship Island, and you would see a group of the Apache rigs would be there, and then you see another group, and then another group after that, then eventually out to Block 265. But a lot of those rigs are gone now. It's pretty interesting what's happened. Today what really defines a good fishing trip is you better have a good fish finder, a good bottom structure finder, good depth finder, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to do much fishing off coast of Mississippi. But if you do, the reef structure and what they've done with artificial reefs and all that, and the rigs to reef program has been really terrific. But Ship Island plays such a great part of the history, and I bet it's it's interesting because you've done it your whole life. Generational family business here. But you still get to see it through people's eyes that are seeing it for the first time, and that has to make a difference.
It makes it worth what we're doing. That's why I stay in this business. I've been working with the business since I was 13. Right after Hurricane Camille in 1970, I went to work for my dad. And we do this because, we don't make a whole lot of money. And you think we might, but believe me, with the storms and the weather and everything else associated with this, seasonal businesses are tough, and family businesses are tough. We've been together, this family's been together 92 years. We've been doing this. My grandfather started carrying people out to the Isle of Caprice in May of 26. And I've got 3 younger brothers that are, involved with the business, and cousins and other relatives that are involved with the business. And we were able to keep it going all these years. But it is because we enjoy it, Rick. I enjoy working with people. I love to see people. I love children. I love to see the families come on board and see the dolphins on their way out to the island. And to show people that there's more than Front Beach, Biloxi, Gulfport. When they get out 12 miles out to the island, they're seeing the true Gulf of Mexico, the green, clear water of the Gulf, and they see really what it's all about down here on the coast.
Yeah, it is really special. Hey, how do you handle thunderstorms? What happens when thunderstorms pop up?
It's a lot better than it was 20 years ago when we didn't have smartphones.
Yeah.
But what we normally do, we have those boats are over 100 feet long. They're pretty strong and can handle the weather. The thing that we normally do, if we have, say, for instance, and give you an example, it usually happens on a Saturday, the biggest day of the week. We've got 600 or 700 people on the island, and we can't load passengers in the middle of a storm. We will just circle out front of the island, north of the island, around the concrete marker until the storm passes. We let the park rangers notify the public. We have them assemble in the fort or under the pavilions, let the storm blow over, give us, let the winds die down, and then we go in and approach the pier at a safe time. But it doesn't happen very often. But you're right. When it does happen, there's a lot of panic among the passengers, you could imagine, as far as safety. But the lifeguards, we work with the National Park Service closely, as you know, the rangers, and of course the lifeguards are right there on the South Beach, and it's a lot of work. I mean, a lot of planning involved in it.
Yeah, I wonder what you meant when you said smartphone. My immediate reaction was that the technology used to do weather radar and all that, but it obviously soon occurred to me that you actually can communicate with your passengers in ways you weren't able to do before. Used to, you had to blow the horn. I mean, whatever else you needed to do. Hey, listen, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation and see what's going on in Louis Skrmetta's life these days. He's the Chief Operating Officer for the family business Ship Island Excursions, and been an absolute incredible contributor to coastal Mississippi tourism for a lot of years, multiple generations. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I have my friend Louis Skrmetta, who's a captain, been a captain just about all his life, but he's also the Chief Operating Officer for the family business Ship Island Excursions. And as you know, if you visit here or you live here in coastal Mississippi, you probably have been on a Ship Island boat somewhere during your life. I know early in my life, I used to spend a lot of time on it. I remember early in my life, long before I was even fishing out of a boat with friends and ultimately had my own boats, that anytime I smelt diesel fuel, it made me think of the Ship Island boat, you know what I mean? Do you have that same? I bet you have that same. When you smell salt air and diesel fuel, it just reminds you of work.
The old Pan American Clipper hauling out. It's a full 8 knots going out to Ship Island with passengers on the boat.
Woo, buddy! So how fast do your boats go today?
Oh, I can put 300 passengers on the Gulf Islander and cruise at 14 knots. I mean, that is sweet.
Wow, that is so cool.
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we were laughing during the break about the changing technology as we both have spent a lot of time on boats throughout our life. Certainly, he's been at the commercial level of boating for literally just about his entire life. Technology has come a long way in your world, hasn't it?
Oh my God! Being able to predict weather. You mentioned weather earlier. It's such an asset. We're able to cancel trips ahead of schedule. We know it's going to be severe weather for the 4:00 hour that particular day. We just cancel that afternoon trip and get the passengers, get everybody off the island and in by that time. And sometimes we get hit right outside the harbor. I've had storms hit us where I just circle around the Gulfport State Port till it blows over. But going into that rock jetty in the Gulfport Smallcraft Harbor is kind of tricky when it's a wall of rain and zero visibility.
Right, and a wind that, I mean, people don't realize that in those boats, when you have a really strong side wind, even though you've got the technology and the capabilities on your boat to deal with it, it still doesn't make it easy.
No, you have the other boaters you have to worry about. I mean, these yachts that are rushing in as well, and your smartphone does tell you ahead of time. Though we do cancel a lot of trips, Rick. I can tell you that because of weather.
What amazes me, and maybe this is a moment for people who aren't experienced to pay close attention if you're boating and you're thinking about going to Ship Island. But one of the things that's amazed me over the years is the kind of boats that people take to the island, and a lot of inexperienced people who have boats that are overloaded, not enough life preservers, not really paying attention to the safety needs, and not really understanding that in a moment's notice, either wind or a thunderstorm or whatever the situation might be, things can go from slick and beautiful to a hurricane in a split second.
It happens.
And I bet you've seen some stuff in your time that you think, good Lord, it is a absolute divine intervention that more people aren't injured and killed.
You're right. I see these guys that come out to the island in these party barges, slick, calm morning. So they say, oh, let's just leave the river and go out to the island on a party barge. Well, let me tell you something. Those are the worst things to get caught in a storm at Ship Island. They cannot handle the seas. They're so light. There's no hull in the water. They nosedive. So when I see bad weather coming, I like to let the people know, and the rangers let the people know. Go around, if it's a norther, go around to the south side of the island by the lifeguarded swim area, and you're protected over there. Don't try to go into Gulfport or Biloxi in the middle of a wall of rain. It's suicide, you know. But I'm surprised that we're lucky more people don't drown out there and get caught.
Yeah, I know. I've been out there on a pretty day, and I'm literally amazed. Even people with skiffs coming.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. But I guess the only explanation is divine intervention and maybe some luck to go along with it. But that's just the way it is. But you know, Ship Island is not too far, but it is. By the time you get there, you're really subject to the elements, and we've had people get in trouble just leaving Gulfport Harbor. I mean, you don't have to get too far out to get in trouble, and people need to realize that and pay more attention. That's for sure. So, what's besides the usual routine of your world? What's new in your world these days?
Oh, well, I'm living in Biloxi for the first time, and I lived in Gulfport for many years. I lived in Mississippi City for 30-something years, and I wound up moving back to Biloxi. I live in Pelican Cay condos, so I overlook Deer Island. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot. Top floor of Pelican Cay. I get to watch the shrimp boats go by and watch the pelicans diving for mullet every morning. And you think you would get tired of that scene, working on the water, but let me tell you, with Deer Island is a beautiful spot. It really is. We were so lucky to have it. I'm so glad people are enjoying Deer Island too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the state has done a really good job of replenishing that and taking care of it and doing the things that needed to be done. And it's got a great future ahead. You know, I live on the northern shore of Back Bay, and Ann and I wake up every single morning, and it's a little bit different. You know, the sun rises and the sunsets are never the same. You know, there's a little, you never know what kind of animals you're going to see and birds. And it's just, we pinch ourselves and count our blessings every day. Hey, listen, we're out of time, Louis, but it has been a genuine pleasure to catch up with you. And we'll come back to you before the end of the summer and see how things are going.
Oh, that'd be great. Good seeing you.
You bet. This has been Louis Skrmetta from the Ship Island Excursions. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.